Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of my podcast, the Wheeler Podcast, back on YouTube as well as the Anchor app, Spotify, all that good stuff. I'm going to run through some sports with you today. Nothing too out of the ordinary. Just really want to bring you the best and most positive part of the sports week. All over the media, we have this negativity constantly going around. Obviously, the Astros situation, you can't help but be negative and upset about that because, like me, if you're like me, you love baseball, all kinds of stuff like that. But I'm here to bring you, I'm going to try something new for once. I'm going to bring you a positive spin on all the good things in sports. Now, today is Laundry Day. So I'm actually broadcasting to you from the humble abode in my bedroom because it's laundry day and that just disrupts everything. My washer is ridiculously loud. So I'm here to bring you a podcast straight from the brilliant mind of Josh Wheeler. I'm going to start things off today with the Minnesota Wild. This team's been pretty shaky as of late. They lost a heartbreaker against Florida the other day, thanks to a Ryan Suter lifted stick on Achari, which ended up deflecting the puck into the net with a little less than 6 seconds and change left to go. So the Wild lost there. However, they seem to find their groove again because last night they put up 4 against the, let's just put it, hideous Detroit Red Wings. Wild scored 4 goals. They won 4-2. Goals by Zuccarello, Greenway, and Stahl led to the Wild pulling away and going into the All-Star break with a victory. Now this team, despite some injuries early in the year and throughout so far up to the first half of the year, this team is good, but the numbers and the record are not showing. The Minnesota Wild are kind of like, they're the Green Bay Packers of the NHL. They don't know how to finish off games. They don't know how to finish off opponents. Even if they're easy opponents, they just can't seem to get the job done when they need to. So I'm hoping that the Minnesota Wild can light a spark going into the second half of the season after the All-Star break. I think this break will do numerous great things for this team. I think the Minnesota Wild, as long as they can better their goaltending, Stalock is playing tremendous right now in goal. And fortunately, we've lost Devin Dubnyk to his wife battling health issues, and that is what it is. Personally, I think he should stay away from the rink as long as his wife is having these health issues, just because I think it does a lot mentally, and I think it's just better to be with the family because you don't want to, I get that you want to play, but you don't want to hurt the team. And unfortunately, if you're not mentally all there, you can't play your best. And trust me when I tell you, Dubnyk has not been playing his best. However, Alex Stalock, our second string goaltender, has been playing phenomenal. Phenomenal so far. Couple kinks here and there, but he is overall doing tremendous for this team. I think this team has the most potential to make a Blues-like season-ending run here. If you all remember, the St. Louis Blues were dead last this time last year, and they won the Cup. So I don't see any reason as to why the Wild wouldn't be able to. The only 2 things they really, really have to work on right now are the power play and the goaltending. That's 2 easy fixes. You can even fix that over the All-Star break and just keep working reps. Get it done. I trust this team will shine brighter than ever and play better than ever. And that's not just the optimism speaking. That's just, I see it in this team. I see the fire. I see the wanting to play, the wanting to give it your all in a lot of these players. And I just really, I have a good feeling about the second half of this season for this team. They play in Boston I believe it's next Friday or Saturday. So they're off for about a week and change with the All-Star break and the bye week, basically. And then I think there's another bye week coming up, too. But this team's awesome. I love some of the fight this team is showing. However, you got to be able to finish these games when it comes down to it each and every night on that rink. So we will see how things go in the All-Star break. Eric Stahl is going to be there. I'm very excited to see the skills competition this weekend. Probably won't watch the All-Star game. I might actually catch a little bit of it. It is WWE Royal Rumble weekend, so it always seems to fall on the same weekend as the Royal Rumble, and it's a huge event for wrestling fans. And I'll be watching that on Sunday as well as probably the All-Star game, but definitely catch the skills competition. That's something that even non-hockey fans would really enjoy watching. It's so much fun, so entertaining. So I suggest you watch it. But for this Minnesota Wild team, I see great things on the horizon. Now, unfortunately, can't say the same thing for the Minnesota Timberwolves. They have not been winning at all. They are, let's see what my notes say. They've lost 7 now. 7 in a row. They are spiraling out of control. This team does not seem to have any oomph. Unfortunately, I don't know. I don't know what to think about this team anymore. I've caught a handful of games so far this season, not as many as I'd like. However, I think that this team, if they can get somebody, if they are buyers, they can really make a huge impact in the NBA. I think they're just one big player away from getting over that hump. Every single game that I've seen so far, and every game that I follow on my phone, every notification, all that stuff, it's always by a few points. They're always losing games by just a few points. You just got to get over that hump. I know it's basketball and it's a game of points, but just a few points every game, and you basically switch that record over. So I think the Timberwolves need to be buyers when it comes to making a deal for a player. Now, D'Angelo Russell isn't going to happen. They've teased it twice. He doesn't want to come here because of cold weather. It's a reason for a lot of athletes not wanting to come here. I don't blame them. It's cold here. That's why I want to move to Vegas. It's much warmer out in Vegas. I love Vegas. I love Minnesota. I love Minneapolis. It's my city. But, I think the Wolves need to be buyers. And unfortunately, they haven't been winning a lot of games lately. And I don't know. They lost to Toronto. They lost to Chicago. I think they lost to Denver as well. So they just gotta, they gotta pull something off. Getting rid of Jeff Teague was not the smartest move. And I think, if you're going to start dropping off players, you might as well start the full rebuild. But, be buyers, get somebody. The Wolves need serious help right now. I know this team can be great if they can be buyers and get one big player. I'm not saying go out and get LeBron James. That ain't happening. Go out and get, go get Kevin Love. Bring him back to Minnie. Something. Make a move. Make something happen. This team's great, and the talent on this team is incredible, but it's just not good enough to compete with the best. So you got to be buyers. You got to start thinking of some market options here of who you want to get rid of or who you want to move, because time's running out if you expect to make the postseason. And unfortunately for Mr. Ryan Saunders, you got to make a move, otherwise your job will be in huge jeopardy. And I'm a Flip guy. I love Flip Saunders. I love the Saunders family. They're awesome. They've changed the game of basketball here in Minnesota. And I think that if they go out of their way to put up a fight, they will, make a big splash in the West. Now, speaking of putting up a good fight, I watched UFC this weekend. It was an incredible card. And I'm not just talking about the main card. I'm talking about the prelims. The prelims were actually pretty great. Usually the prelim cards are pretty so-so. But I actually enjoyed the broadcasting of the prelims on, I believe it was ESPN Plus. And, I watch UFC pretty casually. I'm a casual UFC guy. I'm not nearly as big of a WWE as I am WWE fan. But UFC is it's kind of like one of those dream jobs for me. I honestly, that's a company I would love to work for one day, not just because it's in Vegas, but it's UFC is really fun to watch, and the training and everything that goes into it is even more incredible. And if you haven't, looked into it yet, I encourage you to look up some videos and look up some articles on how these guys cut weight for their fights and how they train for their fights, because it's absolutely remarkable. It is beyond anything that I've ever heard from any normal athlete that even I know personally. This pay-per-view was incredible, and to me, at least, it was worth paying money for. Yes, Conor McGregor won in 40 seconds over Cowboy Cerrone, but overall, that card was pretty worth it. The fights on there were pretty good. I believe her name is Macy Barber, woman's fighter. I follow her on Insta. Well, good for me. Humble brag there. She is one tough gal. She tore her ACL in the middle of a fight. Bloodied, battered, bruised, everything. Tore her ACL in the middle of a fight. Finished the fight after having her doctor pop her knee back into place and pop it and just kind of readjust her knee. Now, I don't know if that's like diagnosing an ACL or... I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a physician or any of that stuff, so I don't know how knees and joints and all that stuff work. I should have paid more attention in school maybe. But the strength that even the women show in the UFC is phenomenal. Holly Holm. Her fight was probably the best fight on the whole entire card, prelims and main. That Holly Holm fight was actually pretty good. It went on for a good bit. Bloodied, battered, bruised, punching, everything. It was a pretty good fight. Now, I haven't always been sold on Holly Holm because I was a Ronda Rousey guy a few years ago, and we all know how that went. She knocked her out. Cold as a block of ice. But, I can't emphasize enough how much I respect these people for how tough they are. And Holly Holm has grown on me. She is a tremendous fighter. But the thing with the McGregor fight is, I love Conor. I think that Conor McGregor is money. Now, I'm doing this because I'm trying to hold back a sneeze. If you're watching the YouTube channel, I'm holding my face to keep myself from sneezing. Okay. So Conor McGregor he's money. UFC needs him more than he needs UFC. Conor McGregor has more money now than I would ever have in about 8 lifetimes. So the thing with the McGregor fight, it bothers me a little. I'm glad he's back. I'm happy he won. It was good for the sport. It's what the spark that UFC needed, because to be honest, it's been a little dull other than Masvidal lately. But, McGregor is 3-3 in his last 6 fights, and they are celebrating like he just won a triple title win. Like he's holding 3 titles, which is impossible. But, he's held 2 belts. And this is about the same amount of hype that he got for winning 2 belts. So I think that Conor McGregor winning this past fight in 40 seconds over a vet like Cerrone should be celebrated, but not celebrated too much. The guy is 3-3. He hasn't won since 2016. I've fought my way through cancer in the time since he lost. That's how long ago this is. McGregor's money. McGregor is fantastic at fighting. I respect the hell out of this guy because he's he worked his way into it. He gave up working a regular job to pursue his dream in UFC, and that's a gamble. I mean, no matter what, that's giving up work and giving up your daily life for your dream with no guarantees other than you working your butt off to get there is, that's a huge gamble, and I can respect that. But, the next fight will probably be against Khabib, which will not be in Moscow, first of all. I don't know why there's a lot of people circulating that because Khabib is from Russia and, this fight would be so huge that it'd fill up a stadium, which it probably would. Dana White and the rest of his UFC group would not make it out of Russia alive if they did this next fight in Russia, if they do it. So I don't blame Dana White for not wanting to go to Russia, wanting to go to Moscow for this last fight, for this next fight. Khabib faces Ferguson. I think it's March 7th or March 17th, something like that. And I think the winner of that will probably face Conor. I don't think Conor will fight for any non-title bouts for a while. I think if he's going to fight, it's going to be for some gold. But, I think that overall, UFC was good. Conor's money. Conor made that event, made every single penny for Dana White for that event. And it's good to have him back. It's good to have Conor McGregor back in the UFC, back in the octagon. So, no disappointments there. But I can tell you one thing that is a disappointment. And that is that your Minnesota Vikings are not in the NFC Championship. Nor are they going to the Super Bowl. But they do have a lot to do with this upcoming Super Bowl, believe it or not. Because the last time the Chiefs were in the Super Bowl was the Minnesota Vikings facing off against them, which, of course, they laid an egg. They only got a touchdown, and that is all they got. I believe it was only a touchdown. Still, Chiefs versus Niners. I'm actually really pumped for this one because this is a good defense versus a really dangerous offense. So, a week from this coming Sunday, in Miami, you get Kansas City versus the 49ers. And unfortunately, the Vikings will not be participating in this. But hey, they'll be in the Pro Bowl this weekend for what it matters there. But I'm feeling very optimistic about this upcoming year, because we have the draft coming up in about 4 months. Now, anybody that knows the Vikings know they've done a pretty darn good at when it comes to the NFL draft. So as long as you mold up that O-line and just kind of top it off and make that O-line look way, way better, you don't need any more wide receivers, don't need any more tight ends. You just need maybe a safety and some defensive backs. But also make sure you just go crazy on the O-line. Get 3 or 4 O-line straight out of the gate and make sure that you get protection for Kirk Cousins. And if you do, this team, the roof is endless for this team. Yes, I know US Bank has a roof, but trust me, if we have an explosive team next year, that roof will get blown straight off of US Bank Stadium. With the way that this team played a couple games this year, I think we can go all the way next year and make things happen, even if it's not the Super Bowl. I would actually be happy with the Vikings going just to the Super Bowl. I think the Super Bowl is the be-all, end-all. Winning it is just a little bit extra icing on the cake. But me making it to the Super Bowl is huge. Making it to the NFC Championship is huge. Because we here in Minnesota aren't used to this kind of stuff. That's why 2018 was such a big year for Minnesota fans, because we don't get to experience the nostalgia of A, getting a miracle play like the Minneapolis Miracle, and B, getting to an NFC Championship with the team that we had. Yes, we laid an egg, but you know what? this team has so much perseverance and so much guts. There's so many games that Kirk Cousins dug us out of this year that I see this team doing some big things next season. It won't be a disappointment. I can guarantee you that it won't be as disappointing as this year. I can promise you that. As long as this team stays healthy, there will be no issues, no problems whatsoever. Injuries are what caused this team to lose a couple games this year and really put us in a bad spot. But you know what? As long as you stay healthy next year, I see the Vikings going places and doing some big things. Obviously, if you watched the NFC Championship game last weekend, Aaron Rodgers, man, that guy's dangerous. That guy is crazy. I got the stats here. So 326 yards and 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. So anybody that's doubting Rodgers' legitimacy, I know a lot of people, including myself, have doubted him for a while. After looking through his stats, I can tell you this guy is a playmaker when you need him to be a playmaker. But boy, oh boy, did they eat him alive at Levi's Stadium. San Francisco is just, that defense is so scary. I didn't really know how good they were until the Vikings came into their house and we just got swallowed. That's why this Super Bowl will be so intriguing to me, because it's going to be Kansas City versus, it's going to be offense and Patrick Mahomes, who was electric. He just, ends the 50-year drought for Kansas City, threw almost 300 yards passing against Tennessee, who was really good. I was really pulling for Tennessee, but man, they just could not compete with Patrick Mahomes. This guy is going to lead that offense against San Francisco's D. You couldn't have a more perfect face-to-face matchup in this Super Bowl this year than these two, honestly. I'm excited. I got Super Bowl Sunday off. I'm pumped. I'm ready to watch it. And, I'm excited to see what happens with this Super Bowl. So, more on that next week, as well as many, many other things. That's all I really have for you today for sports. Not a lot going on. We got Twins signing Josh Donaldson finally. Got it in paper, got it in writing. He loves being in the winter. There's a first. I'm excited for the Twins. Twins Fest this weekend. Let's go. Twins Fest. Yeah. I will be there because I am the biggest Twins fan in Minnesota. And anybody that has an argument with me can come talk to me. Yeah, I'm excited for the Twins. They pretty much unleashed just bombs of home runs by signing Josh Donaldson. And I, for one, couldn't be more excited to see what this team's going to do this season. And, I'm excited for summer. I'm excited for spring. I'm excited for baseball. This team is amazing. This team has so much offense, so much potential. It's just a matter of getting that pitching down and seeing how the pitching does. I'm not too scared about the pitching. I think, a good year and we'll be fine. But, everybody's got to stay healthy. Everybody's got to stay consistent, which is hard when you're playing for 161 games a year, 162 games a year. And, it is what it is. It's baseball. So I'm excited for the Twins. I'm excited for what lies ahead for the Wild. I'm excited for the Vikings, even though they're not playing right now. They got a lot of people representing the Pro Bowl this weekend, so that'll be cool. But, big things are ahead. I'm excited for next week. Super Bowl week, baby. Let's go. I'll see you guys all next week. Have a great, great weekend.